Welcome to the Footy Philosophy Podcast. I'm your host today, Brendan Powers, here with Kev, rocking the anti-Madrid shirt, as we are going to talk about the Champions League today. And, just doing a little housekeeping here because we want to keep everybody in the loop of all things football. Monaco, much like Ajax, get knocked out by a fourth division side in their cup competition. Um, Something we forgot to add last podcast, and just because now we're going to try to be doing twice a week now with UCL revving up. That's kind of our goal. And Barcelona used Christensen as a six. Do you find that interesting? Do you find that intriguing? Does it even make you think anything? Do you think it's a good idea?
Just considering their injuries, it's not a bad idea. He's got the ability to be a ball-playing defender, and that's pretty much all that is required of a six within the Barca's system right now, in my opinion. And it might allow for Frankie De Jong to play further forward, which is also interesting. Yeah, I don't mind it. Could they have someone better there for sure? But they're kind of having to strong arm a side right now. They're so thin.
Well, and something that was just interesting about it, and this is the most interesting point, is it's against Alaves. And it's just kind of like it's a team where you probably don't even need it. And
Yeah.
actually I like it. I like the idea. I like the reasoning for doing it, which is they need a shield. They realize they need a shield. Oriol Romeo has not been that, which
Shocker.
yeah, like $3 million buy, shocker, it doesn't work for you. Which in turn, I don't want to get deep into this, but I thought it was interesting. I was listening to, or I came across this video where these guys were talking about Rice and his price tag, and that's the going rate. And I don't want to say a squad player because he's not, but you used to only pay premium prices for attackers, and now you pretty much have to, if you want, to compete in elite football, unless you get really lucky, and you develop well, or if you, I mean, even if they're just a top prospect like Chouameni, that was 80 million for Real Madrid. And if Barca want to compete, this is a position they need to reinforce. They're loaded everywhere else. You can make it work with a right back. You can make it work with a left back. Without a six, you can't make it work. All the best teams in world football have the sixes, and we'll talk about that today. The four favorites, I don't care what Tuchel says, the four favorites have some of the best sixes in the world. That being said, do you have anything to add before we just start knocking things off?
Yeah, no, sir.
Nigeria went on penalties to advance to the AFCON final to link up with their group mate, who they beat 1-0. Ivory Coast, who beat the DR Congo 1-0 to advance to the AFCON finals in their home country. Do you have any thoughts on this before I get your prediction?
No, other than, well, I guess I do have some thoughts. I don't know why do people say no and then they start talking. Anyways,
It's just like no, and then you think you're like, oh yeah, actually I do have something to say.
Yeah. It's one of the better finals we could have had for AFCON for sure in terms of, just top talent. You think those two sides, Senegal and Morocco, maybe. No, it should be an exciting game. Even if, the 1-0 was exciting last time. So, the scoreline's not indicative of the excitement, the entertainment. It should be fun. If I had to guess, I would like at this point now, I would like an Ivory Coast redemption arc. Like they looked
Exactly.
they looked shambolic in the group, but now that would be awesome for them to win it on home turf.
Well, and my buddy, who I've mentioned to you a lot, I've probably mentioned him on the podcast a little bit, from the Ivory Coast. He was telling me how this is like the most anti Ivory Coast team he's seen, because he's like, normally it's just give up, And like this team just has so much fight in them. He's like, it's something I've never seen before. Like
Yeah,
even to the point where like, he's from the Ivory Coast. He's very proud of where he's from. He's proud of the national team. He hasn't really tuned in because he just like, dude, we're a crapshoot. Like, it's kind of like his way of like rebelling against it a little bit. And I kind of like boost him up, and he tells me all the time. He's like, he's like, man, like I really appreciate you boosting me up. Like I need that. And I'm like, come on, dude, our brothers gotta win it for us. Like they
yeah,
gotta do it. And like I'll tell him, I'll be like, put money on the Ivory Coast today. They're gonna win me some money. He's like, dude, no, they're not. Like don't bet on them. And it's just it's fun in games. If I throw $5, $10 on a team to advance, it's cool. Um, and it's just all for fun, and he knows I love him. And sorry, I'm gonna back out of this real quick. My dog's trying to get down from the bed, but I'm gonna continue talking. Just you really look for a tournament like this, and this is what you expect. You expect the unknowns.
yeah,
And we can kind of turn that into Asian Cup, and we see the two underdogs win their semifinals. Qatar beats Iran, which to me, let's just say, first, I'm going to hype myself up. I got both those semifinals right, okay? Actually, I got all four semifinals right, including halftime. Just want to, hey, I just want to say ball knowledge is elite here. No, but um, Jordan was plus 700 favorites or underdogs to knock out South Korea. They do it in regular time. And then Qatar, Iran, 3-2 thriller. Iran, the favorites for this one. Qatar advance. And we have an Asian Cup final of two teams that we probably didn't predict. Um, I know Qatar are the reigning champions, but when it comes to, I believe it's also being hosted there, which it's nice that we actually have two hosts in two finals
yeah. No, it's also nice that those World Cup stadiums are probably getting some use instead
because they
of
won't for like another 40 years.
yeah. But yeah, no, that's a intriguing final. I mean, I will say I'm less interested in it now. Um, if I had to predict it, though, I guess I would go Qatar to repeat. I don't, Jordan is a really fringe team.
Very.
They're a fringe country, even when we talk about geopolitics. So, like,
I can't even name a professional footballer from Jordan.
yeah, I'm not gonna try. Um,
And it's not to be disrespectful. It just goes to prove of the lack of professional players coming out of that area into top five leagues.
oh yeah, for sure, and that makes it awesome for them, and it's a cool run from Jordan, and you know, in terms of my ethnicity, I have some like Jordanian cousins, but anyways,
I'm
uh,
not surprised by that, Kev. Just from the looks of you. Um, so you believe Qatar's going to win? I'm just going to stick with the underdog and say Jordan. I just honestly they got third in their group, and they've been kind of on a good run of form, probably the best run of form of anyone in that competition, which is kind of weird because you definitely would have thought they would have gotten knocked out in the round of 16, and here they are in the final, and that's what happens in these one-off games. Just I believe it's FA Cup replays.
yeah,
Leeds, Southampton, Chelsea, Coventry, Nottingham Forest all move on. Nottingham Forest have to go to pens to get it done, but they do. They're the better side in that. I believe it was Bristol City.
yeah,
Unfortunate that they had to, but they get it done. So good on them. And Chelsea smack Aston Villa at home. Are we worried about Aston Villa's form, or is this just Unai Emery ball, where one day they're good, sometimes we're shit.
yeah. No, I think probably the latter. I'm not really worried, and their away form has been shaped. No, it was at Villa.
They were at home.
Uh,
That's what was concerning. They've lost two at home in a row. The other one to Newcastle.
yeah. Well, there's like a in terms of the psychology behind it. There's less of a emphasis for Chelsea to really get a result in the FA Cup in my eyes, and so they probably have a bit more freedom to play. But I need to look at the underlying stats real quick.
While you do that, I'll just say because I did some research on the Chelsea game because I was like, damn, Chelsea actually won away from home. This is kind of crazy. By the way, I just want to mention this is a beautiful kit, Real Madrid. Last time we won the Champions League, we wore this kit. David Alaba. It's got the screensaver on the phone in this kit. I don't know if you can see that. When you remember when he grabbed the chair and he was like going
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's been my screensaver for like 3 years now. But back to Chelsea. What really matters? I thought it was actually probably one of their better performances on the year, which is kind of crazy to say. And the lineup was real shit. It was like Nico Jackson, Mudwike, Palmer, who played the 10, Conor Gallagher, Enzo, um, Battle Shy in the back line, Malo Gusto. So like it wasn't like they had proper ballers, but they looked really good. Aston Villa's kind of in a rut. And if Chelsea can start turning some results, um, a lot of people are really low on Pochettino. The advanced metrics haven't looked good since like December. So now we're talking about pretty much almost 2.5 months of really bad advanced metrics from them. Um, but I just hope for their sake and Chelsea's sake. And I know you don't like Chelsea, but me as an innocent bystander in all of this, I think it's better for football when good historic teams are good, and I think it's better for football when there's competition. Someone's got to suck, but like how awesome would it be if let's just say the big six for the Prem, all six of them had a shot. And this is actually one of the more exciting Prems we've had in a long time, with three teams fighting for it, where normally it's pretty much been either a one or two team race. Actually, and just want to mention that it's been an exciting year across Europe. Um, the only two top five leagues and that I would say are dead is Serie A and League One. Like Inter is far and above, way better than everybody. And also want to mention that Inter even though being broke, have done a fantastic job on frees. They're about to sign Zielinski on a free, which is why Napoli will mention it. Removed him from their UCL squad because they're pissed that he's about to sign a free. With Inter, they tried to sell him. He refused to accept. They like got offers for him, and he just refused to leave because he wanted to sign for a free on Inter. And go to Inter, which is a step up from Napoli. I don't think Napoli is not a big club. They're a historic club, but they're not a big club. Their stadium's pretty shit. They don't really
Yeah.
have many leagues. But point being is that Bundesliga is a race. La Liga is a race. Both with two teams who I don't even think Leverkusen have ever won a league title. If they have, it was like a long time ago, which I'll fact check myself in a second. Then we have a 3-team race in the Prem, and really, just quick, Kev, if you had to put percentages on it, on the who you thought would win the league right now in the Prem, between the three teams, Arsenal, Liverpool, and City, where would your percentages lie? We're going to talk a lot about percentages in this podcast.
Yeah. I would have to go. I think to put it really simply, I'd go City 40 and the Liverpool Arsenal 30 and 30.
That's fair.
I don't really see City losing it as much as I would love for that to be the case. But and then Arsenal and Liverpool are kind of the same. Both haven't found super consistent form, which we will talk about with Arsenal. While City, they can turn it on and then just stay winning, become what
Yeah.
you mean. Um,
No, sorry. Are you gonna add to that? I was just gonna give my percentages.
Go ahead. I was gonna circle back to Chelsea Villa, but it doesn't
Okay, I'll just
matter.
say my percentages. We can circle back Chelsea V and then bump on. So mine's gonna be a little different than yours. I have City 36, which this is a complete change of pace from where we were a couple months ago. We were saying no, we think the league's done and dusted, but these other teams have let them get back into the race, and now they got their dogs back, and that's problematic. And I have Liverpool at 34 and Arsenal at 30. I don't really think Arsenal are actual title contenders. I would actually like to give Arsenal probably a lower number, and City, like realistically, I'd probably say like 45 for City, 40 for Liverpool, and like what's that, 15% for Arsenal. I think that's more realistic, but I want to give them their respect. They just took points off Liverpool. they're technically back in the title race. So I'm going 36, 34, 30. And then circling back to Chelsea and Aston Villa.
Yeah, so it was really a tale of two halves. In the second half, the XG 0.7 for Villa, zero point 0.5 for Chelsea. But the key metric is XG on target. It was 3 for Chelsea and 0.7 for Villa across the entire 90. If you look at the momentum bar, it reflects it was just two halves, but equal amount of shots in the box. So maybe could have been a draw into extra time, but when I look at this, I'm not super worried about Villa.
Something I just want to question, just me playing devil's advocate here. Do you think Chelsea maybe was just trying to nurse the game because they were already up 2-3-0?
Definitely could be the case. It's a
Because
cup tie.
that's how I would play that game. Like, look, guys, we're up. Let's not push the tempo. Like, if we need to, like, I'm not going to tell you guys to take it off, but
Yeah,
just devil's advocate.
no, for sure.
That's how Real Madrid play. Like we'll go up 2-0 in 10 minutes, and like we did in the Clasico, and then Barca scored, and just like, well, fuck, that didn't work.
I forget what the term is called, but one of the people that I watch always talks about pretty much just the context. But there's a specific phrase they have for it. Maybe it'll come back to me. But you're definitely right. Of course, Villa are going to push, and Chelsea are going to sit back in the second half.
And probably try to hit on the counter, which in your momentum bar is going to be lower.
Yeah.
But Leverkusen 3-2 against Stuttgart, clear path to the DFB Pokal. Treble still alive for the boys.
That's crazy.
Honestly, like even if they lost the league, but they got the Pokal and they got the Europa, that's massive. So
For
even
sure.
if they do a double, even if they don't do the treble, do a double, even if they win one trophy, that's not the Pokal, it's a big deal for them. I'm still looking. Oh, and also this weekend, Saturday, I can't watch it. Kev, you better fucking watch it. Actually, I'm pretty sure you work. Leverkusen Bayern at 12:30, Real
Yeah.
Madrid Girona at 12:30. So I'm gonna be locked in later that night because I'm moving that day. So once we got the car all packed up, be like, hey Kate, can you drive for us? I'm gonna watch the Real Madrid game, like tune in, lock in,
Yeah.
or whenever she's ready to switch. But Leverkusen come back, go down 1-0, go down 2-1, and then Jonathan Tah gets it in the 90th minute. Man, they have that. Xabi Alonso has instilled in them the belief that Real Madrid is known for, in just never giving up, always pushing until the last minute, and they're very calm when they do it. And their center backs score a lot of goals for a team that, like, their set pieces, they score a lot of set piece goals. Xabi has very tall, athletic center backs that make them very dangerous on corners.
Yeah. No, the amount of work or the greatness of the work has been awesome to see. It's really it's total football in a way, in the sense that you're getting, the most out of each and every single player. Each
To the
position,
depths of his squad.
right, and each position is utilized to, you know, getting as much juice out of it as you possibly can. No, it's awesome.
And something we had mentioned earlier is like, we see the backups at every position, but what about the outside backs? And then someone like Taya comes up and, pretty much wins the game for him on the weekend. And, Frimpong comes back for this game. And, when you can give your subs that kind of confidence, that's just huge, man. But Copa del Rey, and then into what we're doing this podcast for, the UCL review.
Yeah.
Quick hitters for us is 20 minutes, so we're almost there. Sociedad Mallorca draw at Mallorca, so not a terrible result for Sociedad. And Athletic Club beat Atletico Madrid 1-0 on a penalty. And I don't know if you saw, I doubt you did because I didn't send it to you. If I sent it to you, you probably would have saw it. Antoine Griezmann, Athletic Club fans are very upset he did not see a red card. He cleated someone on their ankle really, really bad. Clear red. Should have been sent off. Shouldn't be there for the second leg. But At the end of the day, it's entertainment. What's a Copa semifinal without Griezmann? So I'm not saying that's why he didn't get it, but that might have been why VAR didn't take a deeper look at it. Any thoughts on that? You think Athletic we Basque Derby final? It's looking juicy, and Athletic Club next game at the San Mamés. They beat Atletico Madrid at the Metropolitano, where they didn't lose at all in 2023.
And it's crazy. It's definitely on the cards, the Bass Derby. I'm sure Athletic.
Sociedad still get to play in Anoeta as well. So the next two games are both in the Basque Country.
I'm sure Athletic Club fans don't like Griezmann either from his Sociedad days. Yeah, it makes sense. It all checks out to me.
It all checks out for Kev. So that's all for here on Footy Philosophy. Kev checks out for him. So we'll catch y'all next episode. No. Now, Kev,
Here
quick
we
hitter off the top of your head. Oh, actually, before we even get into it, UCL, my favorite time of year. I look forward to this, bro. It's the best footballing competition in football. It's better than the World Cup. It's better than the Euros. It's better than Copa. It's better than the MLS. It's better than the Prem. It's better than La Liga. You like my MLS shout? Yeah. Better than the Dutch Eredivisie. It is the premier football competition, and it is back. The 16 best, because you got to get through your group. You might not have been the best. The 16 best clubs in the world face off with each other to see who is European champion. Kev, UCL's back, man. This is
go.
I'm glowing. I'm glowing. It's the best time of year, man.
No, it is awesome, and if Spurs were in it, I'd be a bit more excited. But no, it is awesome to see. I like also being at school and having my phone on my desk and peeking and all that sort of good stuff.
I used to miss class for Real Madrid games. I mean, when I was in college, it was three-peat era, so like, I mean, I was locked.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I
So
remember watching the. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I remember watching the PSG Barca tie, and when PSG smoked Barca in leg one, I was texting my friends. I'm like, "Oh, this is over. This is awesome." And then the next leg, I text my friends. I'm like, "Yo, this is fucking awesome." And they're like, "Dude, you were just so happy." And I was like, "I just love this shit. Like, I
yeah,
didn't even care who gets knocked out. I just love this shit because like that's the only place where you are gonna see comebacks like that. Like, you're not like it's not gonna be the same in the FA Cup or the Copa because like nobody holds it to as high. Like every club would rather any club that tells you they'd rather win a league than a UCL doesn't they've never won a UCL. They never won a UCL. Because even if you don't win the league, everyone says you're the best of the best. Like you won against all the best teams in Europe.
right. Yeah, no, I've heard our friend Jason use that logic for when Chelsea most recently won the UCL. Um,
And they weren't, but like
yeah,
how can I argue with them? They beat, like they were the last team standing.
I get it, man. I get it. It's hard for me as a Spurs fan, trophyless, but
Should have won, but yeah.
yeah, don't even get me started. But yeah, like exactly that. My most favorite time remembering Spurs is when we came back against Ajax. That was
Exactly.
absolutely ridiculous.
And, something I said to you about it was just the fact of like, dude, if Real Madrid lose a La Liga game, like that sucks, but it's whatever. If we lose a Copa game, if we get knocked out of Copa, it sucks. It's whatever. Bro, if when we get knocked out of Champions League, bro, I am heartbroken. I'm upset. I'm not even mad. I'm just sad for like days. I remember when Juventus knocked us out in 2014, 2015, and our own player, Alvaro Morata at the time, did it to us. And I didn't talk for 3 days. I was just in I was in a shell of myself. I was going to class. I was just sitting there and I was just like,
Yeah. Nah, you know, outside of football, when it comes to like Michigan and when they lose, they didn't lose at all this past season, by the way. I should mention that. But when they lose, I get what you mean. Like a big game against Ohio State, that's pretty much the Champions League.
it's gutting.
Yeah, it's absolutely heartbreaking for sure. It's not you're not angry. You're just
Well,
devastated emotionally.
yeah, and it's because Michigan holds that prestige, and you expect them, and it's you expect them to win every game. Unfortunately, Tottenham, you don't expect them to win every. No, and it's not a shot, but it's just you don't expect them to win every game.
For sure,
Um,
for sure. That's why I've got
but
PSG on.
yeah, got to represent somebody. So just quick fire off the top of your head, 1 to 16. Who you think is favorite, second favorite, third, and so on and so forth. Give me your 1 to 16.
I'm gonna go one Bayern. They are the best team on paper this season. Two City, reigning champs. Three Madrid. They're in the top tier, but the injuries concern me.
Fair.
Four, I would go probably Arsenal, I
I,
guess.
that's where my head was at too. But I think
Yeah.
I'll go a little different. It's their recency bias. Like if we had talked about this like a month ago, it would have been like, but recency bias. You're like they got a good chance.
Yeah. And then five and six, I think you could just like swap in Inter and Atletico.
Yep,
Um, their systems just suit this sort of football.
they do.
Um, seven, I guess, Barca. I guess.
I think that's fair.
They've got some dogs. Um,
Dogs.
am I missing some teams? Oh, I am missing
Napoli, Leipzig,
PSG. Eight, I'll go
PSG.
PSG. They do have one of the best players in the world, but they also stink in the Champions League. Um, I probably should have put them higher up, but whatever.
No, I actually think eight's actually a little high for them, in my opinion.
That's
This
fair.
I
That's
don't
fair.
think this PSG team has really much of a chance, to be quite honest.
It's an interesting team. I like the midfield they've got going for once. But anyways, nine I will go Napoli.
I was gonna say you got like Dortmund, Napoli in that range, probably.
Yeah. And then 10 Napoli. 11 I'm gonna go Porto.
Damn, you
12,
got Porto over Dortmund.
yes, I do.
Hmm,
Just
interesting.
because I think Porto have a better chance of beating Arsenal than Dortmund does.
PSV.
Yeah, even I'm gonna yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll
We'll
talk.
talk. We'll get into it. Just keep with your rankings. I think so. Right now you have Bayern, City, Real Madrid, Arsenal, Inter, Atletico, Barca, PSG, Napoli, Porto. You're missing Dortmund, PSV, Real Sociedad, Lazio. Um,
in Copenhagen.
yes.
Well, next I'll go I'm gonna contradict myself, it's fine. I'll go Dortmund next and then
Yeah.
probably PSV, then Lazio, then
Wow.
Leipzig, then Copenhagen.
You're putting Real Sociedad last?
Oh shit. There's so many teams.
Yeah. I know. Well,
So
16, buddy.
Sociedad 15, Copenhagen 16.
Wow. Okay, that's definitely different. All right, so I'll give you mine real quick. I actually think Real Madrid win this competition. I don't know why. It just feels like one of those years. I've seen it happen a lot, um, in my lifetime. Um, but it just feels like one of those years. In second, I'll go City. In third, I'll go Bayern. Not, I just don't feel comfortable with them with Tuchel. And part of the reason I have City second is I don't think they've been that good this year, and I don't. You know how hard it is to two-peat. Nobody's done it except for Real Madrid. Um, so that's why I don't believe them to be favorites. But somebody's gonna have to knock them out. After that, I actually think Inter is four. I have Atletico five because I really think their styles suit the competition. Arsenal, they don't have a reliable goal scorer for me, so I put them at six. Seven, I think Barca's right. Eight, I'm going to go. I'm gonna go 8 and 9, same. I'm gonna go Real Sociedad slash PSG. Um, I think Real Sociedad is really good. I also think that I think Real Sociedad is better than PSG on paper and everything, but when you have Kylian Mbappe up top, it makes a difference, right? Like, let's just say if you put Kylian Mbappe in that Arsenal team, they might be favorites for the competition. You know what I mean? Just having that one guy like changes the dynamic completely. And that just shows how bad this PSG team is that like they have that guy and all he needs is a competent team around him to win. And it's just we have him, you have him at 8, I have him at 8/9. Um, I'm gonna go Napoli at 10, even though I'm really not a fan. I think I'm gonna go Leipzig at 11, just because I think, just my opinion, I think they're better than Dortmund. They're more reliable on Dortmund to score goals. That's my thing. I trust them to score goals more. And then I'll go Dortmund 12. I will go PSV 13. Who am I missing? Oh, no, 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 no. I lied. I'm going Porto 12. Dortmund 13. PSV 14. I'm gonna go Copenhagen 15 and then Lazio 16. I think Lazio is trash. The one positive for Lazio is they have ballers.
Yeah.
But the Copenhagen team, like the thing is like they don't have any stars. They just have straight dogs, 1 to 11. And that's the reason why I have them over Lazio is because Lazio is they're just not a good mindset. While Copenhagen, though in piss poor form, they're gonna be very excited to be in the Champions League. That home game for them is going to be huge. But moving on, anything else to add? Do you have anything to say about my list?
No, I mean it all checks out for me, man. I'll say it again. It's hard to, you know, talk about on the margins like that, but
Well, that's why we do it. Just quick fire, just
yeah,
top the head. And if we were to do it 5 minutes from now, you might think differently. At the end of the
yeah.
podcast, you might think differently because we're going to talk about every single tie here.
Right. Well, the one thing that did flutter across my mind was the fact that PSG probably have the best player in the tournament.
Probably.
You know, maybe Haaland. You could throw some names, but Mbappe is probably the best player in the tournament, and we're just looking at them like a middle of the pack team here. It's kind of sad. Um, but yeah, we'll talk about that.
Which
And
is why if those rumors for him to leave are true, which, we don't talk about rumors on this pod, we talk about factual information. Um, that could be a factor why is that he's looking around the locker room being like, man, they built this team around me and it's not looking good here. Especially considering, he's played against the great Real Madrid teams. He's played against the great Barcelona teams. He's played against, like just dogs, great city teams. And he's probably looking around and being like, man, even with me here, we don't have a fucking shot.
yeah,
And Mbappe should always have a shot for every trophy because he's that good. So moving on, Copenhagen versus Man City, probably the most straightforward tie. And if your reason for putting them 16 should be just the fact that they're playing Man City and there's no shot they are getting past them. And it's also part of the reason why I have Lazio so low to like
exactly.
realistically the bottom three should be the opposite of your top three.
Right, for sure, for sure. That's
Which is where your list went,
yeah,
actually.
that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad my logic is
Literally it went almost perfectly except you had Lazio in 14 instead of last.
that's fine. That's fine with me. But yeah, no, this is really straightforward. City are second in the Prem right now, but obviously creeping up on first. What are they? 1 point behind, 2 points behind.
Game in hand too. I think
Yep.
they're 2 points behind game in hand.
Yes, and obviously the key part is that they're getting healthy right now. Haaland and KDB are back, and KDB looks really good. Um, they might not even have to play Haaland here, and that's really sort of the key component as well. Is that I don't think City have. I forgot to put it down here, but I don't think City have like all too important games. In this tie, this is sort of like a low impact time of the year for them with their schedule. Like sure, there's a lot of fixtures, but
We talked about in the last pod too how their schedule's pretty easy until March.
yes, and so they can rotate, and Pep is experimenting. That is, the last game we saw against Burnley, he's running a 4-1-4-1 on paper. Average positions were were pretty wonky, but he's trying some things out, and I mean, unfortunately, City are just good enough to the point where they can try some things out against Copenhagen. Copenhagen have some really interesting players. Rooney Bargi. Um, I'm not sure how exactly to say his name, but Grabar is a great goalie. He's at the top of the charts and many stats for the UCL this year. But I just see their fairy tale run coming to an end. I mean,
And they're in piss poor
Man
form.
City. Yes, and they've only played 4 games since the turn of the year. 2 of them were friendlies. So I don't know.
Is it because the country they live is too cold, so maybe they take a lot of time off during this time of year and push towards the end of the season? I know that's kind of common in Nordic countries, but were they in Denmark? The Danish, Copenhagen's in Denmark, right?
Yeah, it very well could be, and I'm not sure if they, you know, if there are some rules with AFCON and Asian Cup because there are a lot of AFCON players in the Danish league, but I'm not.
That would be actually make them more sense than what I said. I was just trying to think. So, that being said, uh, what is your key factor here? Like, what does Man City have to do to win? What does Copenhagen have to do to win? What's your key factor here on this tie?
That's a good one. Copenhagen have to play the best smash and grab football ever. Really. No, they need to
Which
probably.
they did in the group stage, which is incredible.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
They hung with Bayern, they hung with Man United, they hung with Galatasaray. They were in a tough group for them. It should have been a pretty straightforward group for everyone else, but it wasn't.
Right, exactly. No, they have to win their home game. That's what I'll say. They have to win their home game. And City, what do they have to do? They have to. I don't know. I think they don't have to.
Not lose the away game. That's my thing. No, but seriously though, like if Copenhagen tie the away game, who the fuck knows what's going to happen in that second leg? You expect City to smash them, but like if Copenhagen's defense was top tier, I mean, dude, I don't know if you remember, but they were playing the last game to get through, and they had like 4 guys on the goal. I think it was against United. They had like 4 guys on the goal line with the goalie. Like, bro, that's not easy to score against, man. Like, it's prime haram ball, and it's it's gonna be really tough for them. Any other key factors for City that you have? Um,
No, other than I would like to see a bit more. I guess just midfield oomph.
yeah,
Like you said in the doc, if Stones can get back into midfield, that'd be nice. That's what
it,
the key was to their last run. So,
is Pep going to resort to that? I'd probably think he's going to go back to that. You would think. So who are obviously, key players like Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne, but what other key players do you expect in this tie? From both sides.
um, for City, I want to see Doku because I kind of want to see City like cut to the chase almost, and just use their talent, use the individual skills that they have. I know that Pep doesn't allow for that like too much, but against a team like Copenhagen, kind of need it in my eyes. And then for Copenhagen, Grabara and Bargi, I know I already said them, but Grabara's gonna have to be at the top of his game, and
And Laranger was probably their best, or Lorraine. I don't know how you say his last. Lucas Laranger is going to be my guess. Um, he was their best player in the group stage, so he's going to have to be a big, big, big player for them.
yeah, but yeah,
And
it's
anything else on this tie that you want to mention? Any
no other
tactical
than
stuff? I think this tie's pretty straightforward. And neither you nor I watch the Danish league, so it's not. So we've literally seen Copenhagen play 6 times, all in the
yes.
Champions League. So our knowledge on them is very low. Moving on to Real Madrid, RB Leipzig. This one's actually it's really interesting. Actually, first, before you can get there, can you put a percentage on what you would say City to advance or like Copenhagen, like 90-10? That's where I would say the percentage is 90-10 City to knock out
That's what
Copenhagen.
my initial thoughts were, but I'll go 95-5.
Jeez, that's brutal, man. But
Yeah.
you're probably right. Honestly, if someone said 99-1, I mean, like I'm not arguing with you. Like I can't. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty spot on. But Leipzig, Real Madrid. In the podcast, Managing Madrid podcast with David Ray, Kian Sobani asked David Ray because he works in Germany, he speaks German. He asked David Ray what he thought the chance of Leipzig knocking out Real Madrid was. He said 3 out of 10. So this is a guy who watches the Bundesliga, doesn't really have a lot of faith in them. Just for starters, I'm gonna just go on a little because I watch a lot of Leipzig, I watch a lot of Real Madrid, so I'm very knowledgeable in this. Leipzig have been in their worst form to start a year since they got to the first division in 2016. They've lost like 4 on the bounce before finally winning against a crap Union Berlin team that has been struggling all year. Um, they also have to play Bayern in between both Madrid games, which you don't expect them to win.
Yes,
Um,
that's yes.
but they are really healthy right now, which is good. They have key players like Openda, Xavi Simons, David Ram has been awesome this year. They like to play a high line, but they can also sit back when need be and hit you on the counter. And Openda gives them that ability. They have a really good bench. Um, and yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to add with them, but they're really not a strong side tactically. Other than that, I think Real Madrid, into the Real Madrid side, and then, I'll let you go. I think Real Madrid will walk away with this one with ease, especially with the form Leipzig's in. Real Madrid do, in the past, notoriously struggled in Germany. But since I've been a fan, we've pretty much handled our business in Germany, except for Mourinho years. Like post Mourinho years, we've always handled our business in Germany. Um, Real Madrid do have to play Girona this weekend, right before, literally in 2 days, they play Girona, right before they match up against Leipzig in Germany. The first game, so they go Girona at home, right to Germany to play Leipzig. Not much rest because it's on a Tuesday. Um, I kind of wish Real Madrid played on Friday. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me that they didn't, considering Girona's knocked out of the Copa, Real Madrid's knocked out of the Copa. So why not give Real Madrid an extra day rest for their UCL? Like you want your teams to do well. I don't know if you remember, but during that Ajax run, they were literally canceling Ajax's games in the
Yes.
league, and they're like, yeah, they'll play them later. Like they were giving them weeks rest of. They're like, look, just focus on UCL. And I'm not saying that league should do that, but you know, give Real Madrid an extra day rest. Like you understand that if you're the team in your league wins, you get more money, right? Light bulb. And you might gain Real Madrid fans, etc. We don't really know if Vinicius is going to play, which is problematic. Rudiger and Nacho are both out for the weekend, so against Girona, so Chouameni and Carvajal is going to be the center back partnership. So I expect to see Camavinga in the 6 role for that game, probably with Tony Cruz. For Girona, this might be a hot take, but maybe Real Madrid are being careful with Rudiger because they prefer him to be healthy because they expect Girona to eventually drop points. Even maybe they think that we're good enough to beat Girona without Rudiger, which normally I'd say yes if we had health, but we don't have health right now. So Real Madrid are a very unhealthy team right now. Obviously the 3 ACL injuries are killer. Militao is almost back though, but I don't expect him to be like fully healthy. Maybe towards the real business end of the season. Even though we're getting to the business end, hope Vini's having neck and back problems right now, which is really not good because they linger. And I'm sure they're trying to fix that right now. But even if Vinicius doesn't play, even if Rudiger doesn't play, hopefully Nacho will be back by then. You still think this Madrid team should be good enough to knock out this Leipzig team. Lunin has kind of seemed to take over the starting goalkeeper role at this point. So Kepa's, it's came out that Real Madrid aren't going to sign Kepa long term. Did anyone really expect them to? I didn't. But
No.
I think I think Real Madrid are gonna if Leipzig were smart, they play in a low block and try to hit on the counter. The problem is if you try to hit Real Madrid on the counter, they'll just give you the ball. They'll be like, yeah, have it. Like, and then you have two teams playing low blocks. That's not how it works. So then it turns into kind of an equal game, and then you kind of can get them to push up into a high line by doing that. I expect Real Madrid to take advantage of the high line. Whoever plays in that right wing, um, whether it be Danny Carvajal overloading or Fede Valverde, getting behind David Ram is going to be key. He's not really good at defender, make him make decisions. Rodrigo being in really bad form right now is really bad for the team, especially considering he might need to take advantage of that David Ram side. But I think Real Madrid pretty much go through with ease. I'd probably say 75-25 is my percentage. Um, do you have, even with the injuries, this Leipzig team, I've watched them the past couple weeks. They do not look good. They are leaking goals, and you
Yeah.
don't want to leak goals. They're leaking goals to Bundesliga sides. You're gonna leak. I mean, if you're leaking goals to Bundesliga side, try doing that against Real Madrid. The one problem that might hurt Real Madrid is if they're not clinical, like they weren't clinical against Atletico, and that cost them the tie. But I think Real Madrid get it done probably by one, like maybe like a 2-1 or a 3-2 in Leipzig, and then it's real easy pickings at the Bernabeu. And that's why I have 75-25.
I mean, I see where you're coming from, and you
You can
summarized.
come at me. You can come at me. It's cool. I know I really, really like
No, and the thing is, Leipzig's tactical setup does favor Real Madrid. Like, if you're
a
gonna try and
lot.
make the pitch smaller, Madrid's fine with that. I don't know. They have extremely technical players. Like, don't really have to back it up that much, but there are certain narratives you can fall into that make it like make a Leipzig upset more reasonable, like the injuries. And there have been some really, really sort of flabbergasting moments at the back for Madrid this season when it comes to the goalies. Um, so things like this, uh, I wouldn't be so generous to go 75-25 just because, like you mentioned, there's tons of quality in the Leipzig team. Xavi Simmons, Openda, um, other good night. Plenty of others. I would go 65-35. I would
Well,
just
and also
dial it back a little bit.
something just to add there, and we'll get into this when we really get to the Real Sociedad game because it's going to be a huge talking point. And if Real Sociedad actually have a chance, this is where they're going to win. Is that Real Madrid's midfield just walks theirs, and games are won in midfield, and Real Madrid have the best midfield in the world, and that's why they've been successful this year, or we've been successful this year. Plus, a point I forgot to make, and I was rechecking, like redoing the notes, like, oh yeah, duh. Um, Rudiger and Tony Cruz, if they play high line, those balls over the top are just going to kill Leipzig, like really badly.
Key with that though is Vinicius. You would have to have Vinicius pretty healthy in order to do so. Like Brahim, yeah,
Rodrigo has good pace though too, and Brahim has good pace. And if you want to do the tactical, you could say, "Hey, I need you to make these runs." But you are right that normally that's to Vinicius. I expect Vinicius to play this weekend. I expect Vinicius to play against RB Leipzig. Um, but you expected him to play against Atletico, and he got dropped last minute. So
yeah. I mean, this is really an emerging thing. Like obviously, it's just pretty recent. Um, he's obvious. He must have been going through this for a decent chunk of time now.
they said it's been a couple months he's been dealing with it.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Like we found that out about Son last year. He was playing through injury the whole year. It's like, okay, well that makes perfect sense why he wasn't playing as well. Um,
It's like you're injured enough where like it affects you, but you're not injured enough where you don't play. You know what I
right,
mean?
right. And if you're not at 100%, like that's the margin in the Champions League, and that's what makes it the best competition. But yeah, 65-35 for me. Um,
Fair. Um, Anything else to add to this talking point, or move to PSG Real Sociedad?
No, I got nothing else. I think
All
Madrid
right.
should be fine, but I could.
So yeah, moving on to one of the toughest games to predict here. Real Sociedad, Paris Saint-Germain. First game's in Paris, which is good for Real Sociedad. Second game at Anoeta. This is going to be played on Wednesday. PSG luckily get through the group of death because Newcastle dropped points in the last match day. In League One, they're sitting pretty. They're going to be able to rest guys. But the thing is it doesn't really matter anyway because it's not like it's Messi and Mbappe, Neymar. It's Koulibaly, Dembele, and Mbappe, which is still a great front three. But it's not one that's going to strike fear across Europe. And PSG's starting 11 is just a lot weaker. Their backline's really slow. Their midfield is not that good. It's being run by, Zara Emery, a 17-year-old kid, has been their best midfielder. Definitely the weakest PSG seen in a really long time. Anything to add? Oh, and just Hakimi's been really poor.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not as negative on the PSG team. I like Ugarte as the six. I like Zaire Emery and Fabian Ruiz as eights. With Real Sociedad's midfield, sure, it becomes more of an issue.
Real Sociedad's midfield is much, much, much better.
I agree with you. Thing is, Skriniar and Kimpembe might not play in either tie, and that's sort of a deal breaker for me. Um, your two best center backs not playing, it's not a good look. Obviously, we talked about it with Madrid. It's a bit different though. Um, Madrid have some players to make up for it, and PSG should as well with players like Mbappe, players like Ousmane Dembele. But the thing about Sociedad is, I don't know. I think they're playing against a Luis Enrique team. Like it's not going to be much different than playing against a pretty good La Liga team, in my view.
Which they fare well against. It definitely suits them.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I don't think PSG will go to a back three. They have done it this season, um, but with low depth and defense, I don't see why they would do that. That would be intriguing. I don't know if Sociedad could cope with it. If PSG sort of go into counterattack mode, that would be really interesting.
They really should with their front three. Like they'd actually be a much better side.
Yeah, like sort of almost go Conte, three center backs, and then Ugarte forms the diamond. It's if makes for some good build
Well,
up.
and then, it allows Hakimi and Nuno Mendes to both be more natural and do what they do best, which is use their pace and beat men and play balls into the box.
Yeah,
Even more so beyond that, the sorry, Mbappe's obviously the key man of this team. Who do you expect to change the tie for them? If it's not Mbappe, like who else needs to play well for them if it's not Mbappe? Because I don't know if you know, but advanced metrics wise, Real Sociedad have the best defense in La Liga.
that's a tricky one. You need like a midfield orchestrator in order to obviously undo the defense. I guess Zaire Emery. You're right. You're gonna rely on a 17-year-old. Like I don't know. They have Fabian Ruiz. Did they end up sending out Asensio?
No, he's still there.
He's still there. That's someone I would look to. Honestly, he's someone that has been there, done that, so to speak. I don't know. They're playing Carlos Soler at right back recently. It's a mess. It's a mess.
Well, Hakimi's back now from Morocco too, which is
True,
nice.
true. I would
It
go
it just doesn't seem
Asensio.
like sorry, it just doesn't seem like Luis Enrique has any idea how to make this team click. He's playing a ton of people. They're also getting Kane and Lee back, who's been one of their better midfielders this year.
Yeah,
And I think he'll probably play in midfield over Fabian Ruiz. Just my gut on what I've seen from them. Luis Enrique never even called up Fabian Ruiz to the Spanish team when he worked there. I don't really think he rates him very highly. But I think PSG's kind of out of ideas at this point, other than let's get Mbappe the ball. Um, I guess we'll see. Moving on to Sociedad, they get Kubo back. Um, they do have the second leg of the Copa, which they do want to take seriously, and they're tied 0-0, but they get that one at home. They've been in poor form since the start of the season. They always do this. To me, this is actually a tie. This isn't a tie of who wins. This is a tie of who loses. I know that sounds terrible, but Real Sociedad for like the last 5-7 knockout competitions in Europe, they've gotten eliminated in the round of 16. I mean, I've seen ties where they were winning the first leg, they won the first leg, and the second leg completely get obliterated and get knocked out. They played great football though. The midfield, they're definitely going to win with Bryce Mendes is a baller, Zubamendi baller, Mikel Merino baller. Their defense, I also think, is better. But the attack is significant. Like, let's just say if we had to rate everything out of 10, let's just say Real Sociedad's midfield's an 8, their defense is a 7, their attack's a 6, but Mbappe makes PSG's attack a 10, and like that can move the needle for them. So my key players for Sociedad are Romero, the keeper. For Sociedad, who's been good this year, I'm not a fan. I don't really like him. I think they should upgrade that position, but he's been there for a long time. They're comfortable. Ruben de Lenormand from France, but plays for the Spanish national team. And then Kubo, Bryce Mendes as well. Bryce Mendes needs to boss that midfield, and Kubo needs to run at their slow defense. If Kubo sets the tempo for them, and I do think Kubo is going to be a little out of form because he wasn't really playing with Japan, which is mind-boggling to me, but he's, in my opinion, the best Japanese player in the world. If Kubo can run at them, and they're getting Traore back from Mali, which is huge. So like Sociedad are getting the players back at the right time, which is huge for them. They'll have a little bit of time to get back into the squad. I think Sociedad play really great football, though, and I think this is going to actually be a great tie. If you had to put a percentage on it, Kev.
I know I put in the docs PSG winning comfortably, but really all it is like 60-40.
We switch up the tune here, Kev.
We're switching up the tune, yeah. 60-40 though. I think that's still relatively comfortable. It's not super comfortable, but it's comfortable. I don't think Sociedad will have an answer from Mbappe when it really comes time to have an answer, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Ramiro is essentially going to have to be Thibaut Courtois. I have it 52-48 towards PSG. I have it a lot closer. To me, this actually would favor Real Sociedad if the first leg was an Anoeta. Because PSG, let's say they draw or Sociedad lose by 1 in leg 1, I'm like, all right, I think Sociedad's going to go through unless Mbappe just goes off. So that being said, I just think we'll see how leg 1 goes. I think if leg 1 goes smoothly, I think Sociedad get through. And by smoothly, I mean lose by 1 or draw. But it really depends on leg 1. Just keeping it pushing. Lazio, Bayern, pretty straightforward here. I actually think I had Lazio below Copenhagen. I firmly stand by that. I think Lazio was actually lucky to get through. I thought they were terrible. Some lucky calls go their way. They get through.
Lazio are 9th in Serie A right now. They've scored 25 goals in 22 games. That is not good.
No.
Obviously, it's a congested table in the Serie A right now. Got to keep that in mind. But still, like, it's
one
not,
win and they could be like 5th.
Yeah, but still, it's not like it's not like they're killing it. And then you have Bayern Munich on the other side of the coin, which we've been pretty critical of on this podcast. Thomas Tuchel, some interesting decisions, some really weird complaints. Something is off with Kimmich and Tuchel. Yeah, he's not in the best form, but like arguably your second best player on the team. Um, and I don't know.
When he's at his best, the second best player on the team.
Yes, yeah.
He
Um,
hasn't been at his best all season though. I think he's pretty low on the totem pole. Like Musiala, Kane, Davies. And Davies has been quite poor this year too. But I think that both the Kimmich and Davies form have to do with the contract situation where they're not being made a priority, so they don't feel wanted, so they're kind of depressed. Um, and any sport you've played, Kev, you've played sports. I know you know. Anything you do in life, specifically sports, it all comes back to confidence. And then when you're not feeling confident, you're not going to play well.
yeah,
Which is why someone like Thomas Tuchel just isn't a good manager for me. I would say so. My key men for the Lazio is Luis Alberto, who is out of favor, doesn't always play, sometimes doesn't even touch the field in games, and he's one of the better players for them. And Ciro Immobile, who he's not. We're not really sure what's going on there. He's not playing either. Both seem to be out of favor. And then with Bayern, it's probably Kane, Musiala, and Neuer. No Davies, no Coman, no Gnabry. Even though Gnabry's been really out of favor there. And actually, with the injuries, they've actually looked a lot better because people have actually had to play in their natural positions. Mazraoui looked really good last game in his natural right back position. So yeah, percentage for this one, Kev? Or do you have anything to add first before we even get into the
yeah. No,
percentages?
the one sort of not X factor, but the one thing worth keeping in mind is before the Lazio tie, Bayern have Leverkusen, and then before the second tie, they have Leipzig.
Okay,
Um,
that's interesting.
so it's not like they're gonna have the ability to rotate and ensure that they have the strongest team ready for Lazio. Not that they necessarily need it, but it's worth keeping in mind. Percentages, I will go 79-21 Bayern. Obviously Lazio are still like a relatively good team. They're one of the bigger teams in Italy, but if if it was not if it was Nagelsmann, it would be like 95-5. Um,
Exactly.
and it's still many of the same players. And they have Harry Kane, so he's one of those guys that we talk about. He moves the needle. He makes your attack a 10 out of 10 rating. Um, if Bayern aren't performing, Harry Kane can still win you the game.
Exactly.
I don't think Lazio have that. So yeah,
Well, they do, but he's not always playing. So,
yeah,
um, he might not be a 10 out of 10, but Ciro Immobile is very consistent in the box. Um, Inter Atletico, to me, the juiciest match of them all. I'm sure you would agree. I I have them at 4 and 5. You have them at 5 and 6, and I feel like they might have been higher if they weren't playing each other. For you, maybe, because one of them is getting knocked out, and Inter finalists last year. And we've talked about them a lot on this podcast. How they don't really get talked about. Um,
they're
the top of Serie
dominating.
A, yeah, they're really good. Like they're really fucking good. Should probably they're probably the honestly, I think they're better than Bayern this year. Like if we had to do a power rankings, honestly, they might be number one.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm
No, but seriously, like if we did a power rankings, like if you and I were like did a weekly power rankings, we're like, okay, they're the only team whose form has not fluctuated all year long.
for sure.
Real Madrid can't beat Atletico. City were kind of a while ago. Arsenal were a couple months ago. Um, Liverpool, they're kind of hitting that rut now. And Bayern, they're in second place in the power rankings. It'd probably be Inter, Leverkusen 1 and 2, I would think. Then maybe do like Girona 3. Um,
And then
but
Spurs.
that being said, yeah, that being said, Inter, Marcus Thuram has looked good. Colin Naglu has been the best six in the world.
Yes.
And Jan Sommer has looked really good. Their defense is better this year than it was last year. And Lautaro is arguably the best nine in the world. I know I just mentioned their key players. They're unbeaten in their last eight. No crucial injuries. Inter have to be favorites right now. Any thoughts on Inter?
Um, Not necessarily.
I said it all.
Yeah, they do have Bologna away and Atalanta at home in between the ties. I like
Those are
looking at
tough
that.
games.
Yeah, I like looking at that. They're in a spot where like they can take some sort of liberties because they're top of the Serie A. But
And Inzaghi loves to rotate too, so he's going to rotate those games. And they're pretty deep on the bench.
yeah, they are. They are. They should be favorites in this one. But the thing is, it's gonna be. What did I
It's a
say here? I want to make.
dog fight, bro. It's a
Yeah, I want
dog fight.
to.
Because we've even talked about Atletico yet. We're just talking about how good Inter is.
Exactly. This is what I wrote down. Who will be better at not having the ball? That's that's just the way I feel.
Who's going to defend better? That's
Yes,
exactly it.
I think this is going to be a
And
highly
it
tricky
doesn't,
one.
well, and I was going to say, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a defensive game because
Hold
they
on.
can, they can, they can still attack, and you're good. They can still attack, and still be open defensively, which is crazy when you think about it. And even more so, this is just a team that, on paper, is just one of the best in the world. Their backline, DeMarco, looks really good this year. Their midfield has been very comfortable. And they have no problem rotating. That's the thing. The gaffer, Inzaghi, he rotates like a madman. They rotate and they rotate and they rotate and they rotate. And Inter just rotate all the time. And they just feel completely comfortable rotating. Um, and Bastoni has been great this year. Benjamin Pavard has been awesome. Mkhitaryan's been good. I mean, this midfield of Colin Naglu, Mkhitaryan, and Barella is loaded. The front line of Latoro, Marcus Thuram, loaded. And then, their bench is deep, bro. It's a deep bench. He always, every single game, he makes the same subs. He pulls off the fullbacks. He pulls off the attackers. And if he needs a goal, he pulls off a midfielder, throws in another attacker. And like Inzaghi has this down to a science.
Yes.
He knows what he's going to do before the game. He doesn't change his game plan, and they know it. They know they're all going to play. They rotate really well. Like, I know you keep saying over rotating, over rotating, over rotating. They do over rotate, but he does it to the point where it's like they know X player knows it's their off day. Like, he doesn't care who they're playing. They're going to rotate. And in these Champions League games, he's going to rotate against Bologna. And guess what? They're going to feel comfortable. He's going to rotate a little bit against Atalanta, and they're going to feel comfortable. And he's going to save the big dogs for the big games because he knows that in his system, there's a lot of running and there's a lot of defending. And that shit knocks the shit out of you. And so they're going to rely on that. And that's going to be huge for them.
Yeah. No. And the thing is with the rotation though, there's some nuance, right? Like it's the difference between thinking of your team as like a 14 or 15 man squad versus just rotating for the sake of rotating and trying out, different tactics. Like Inzaghi definitely thinks of his team as, 15, 16 guys, right? Like there's purpose to who's on the bench, who's starting, and when.
And he's
That
very comfortable with the team, and he's
right.
gotten them to this point. Like, and that Mkhitaryan, Kalinoglu, and Barella, and they're going to add Zielinski to that. Like, I know that doesn't matter for this, but they're going to add him to the mix. Like, just another guy they can rotate through.
Yeah. No, it's really impressive. And they deserve their flowers. Atletico Madrid, they do have, one of the better players in the
In the
tournament,
world.
Antoine Griezmann. Um, that is an X factor worth keeping in mind. I'm not sure where you stand. It seems like we're taking Inter here.
I
Um,
am. In the past, I thought Atletico would go through, but I've watched Inter a lot lately, man, and they're ticking at the right time, man. And they did it last year. Like, you know how many times we see a team like lose a final and then win the next one? It happens. You know, they won it more than anything.
yeah, no. I think I would go Inter at this point. It'd be like 55-45. I have them just ever so slightly over Atletico. It could easily be 2-1 Atletico over two ties. It could easily be, I don't know,
It could
one.
also be like a 7-5 over the two legs. Like we don't know how it's going to go because both teams are so good defensively, but also they can score a lot. Both teams, like, so it could really go either way.
It really could. Um, and like you mentioned in the doc, Alvaro Morata hasn't been in good form. I don't know how much it'll matter. Obviously, he's a physical nine. That's a plus. Um, Oblak hasn't been in the best form. Um,
They're not really, other than consistently beating Real Madrid, they really haven't looked that good. But that's a big feat, and that builds confidence in your guys. And like, let's be honest, if you played for Atletico and you beat Real Madrid 3 times, are you looking at Inter and being like, we're the underdog? Like, no, you're like, yo, we've taken out a better team than them
for
three
sure,
times this year.
for
You know what
sure.
I mean? Like, um, and the one big thing will be the Metropolitano. When they go there, they have that second leg because Inter got second in their group. So much like the Sociedad match, if Atletico can hold it pretty close at San Siro, I expect them to go through. And Morata's been awesome this year. Probably the best form we've seen from him since Real Madrid and Juventus. Um, and they have a pretty deep bench. And Barrios is coming back, and we talked about how they were undefeated with him in the lineup, and then he got hurt, and then their form kind of dipped, and Ramirin is also there now, and so they've gotten better right before it matters. So um, you went 55-45. I was thinking 60-40, but I kind of just convinced myself that I actually do like Atletico a lot in this tie. And Atletico have been there, bro, and they want to win a Champions League so bad. Like they've won so many La Ligas, they've been to so many Champions League finals, only get knocked out. Um, the thing is, I really don't know who's gonna win. I'm just gonna go 50-50.
That's
Like
fine.
I'm just
That's
going
fine.
straight 50-50.
Yeah,
I don't have confidence in either of them to. I have a lot of confidence in neither of them to lose. Like I'm like neither of these teams deserve to get knocked out, but also I
yeah.
don't have confidence that they can knock the other one out either.
I get
Because
it.
they're they're both so good. Um,
And whoever wins this tie will go really deep.
well, they need to get an easier draw next round. The thing is if it's so hard to go tough team, tough team, tough team, tough team, and expect to advance. It kills your body, man. It kills your mind, like having to be hyper focused like that all the time.
Yeah,
Um, they're gonna need to play like
the
the
winner of
winner of PSV and Dortmund. Like I love how we're on the same wavelength there.
yeah,
And we can kind of move into that right now. If you have nothing else to add on that.
yeah.
PSV Dortmund, PSV have been killing it in the Eredivisie. Finally, they're still unbeaten in the Eredivisie, but they finally lost or not lost, drop points. And actually, Kev, it's kind of crazy because I was doing research on this PSV Dortmund tie, and like, when I went into it, I was kind of like leaning Dortmund, but after doing a bunch of research, I'm leaning PSV. Did you kind of feel the same? Or no, you're still heavy on Dortmund on this one?
Um,
Even though I have Dortmund higher, because I think Dortmund, like I could see Dortmund knocking out like not a Real Madrid, but like let's say Dortmund knocked out Atletico Madrid, like you can see it. I can't see a PSV knocking out Atletico Madrid, right?
right, of
Um,
course, of course.
but I can see a PSV knocking out Dortmund.
Yeah, and I, we're preparing. I'm writing down notes. Yeah, I got to see that this tie is pretty even. Surface level, you just see PSV Dortmund. You're like, oh, I'm taking Dortmund for sure. There's a lot at stake here. I think Dortmund, just to take it, not to look at both teams in depth, but I think Dortmund had the advantage of playing the second leg at home. They kind of get to go to the Netherlands and be like, all right, what's going to happen here? And then, like if
It's
they,
not like the Netherlands is known for like being a tough environment to go to, while Germany is known to be extremely tough,
yeah,
which gives Dortmund the advantage right there.
for sure, for sure. I'm not sure. They made it out of the group of death and they played all
Don't know
right.
how. Don't know how.
Yeah, they were
No
all
clue.
right.
Which is crazy to say. That group of death was just, it was the group of death because of the names. It wasn't a group of death because any of them were actually that good.
Yeah,
We saw a shitty version of Newcastle. We saw a shitty version of AC Milan. We saw a shitty version of PSG. And we see a terrible version of Dortmund, and they got the group.
yeah, I agree with you. PSV have some really exciting players though. Bakayoko, the winger, really tricky, sort of like a Doku. He'll be snapped up very soon, probably this summer. Luke De Jong has been absolutely killing it. I want to say there's like 18 goals this season.
If you
Um,
include the Champions League, he's over 20.
yeah, so he's in great form. I know you were talking about Joey Veerman here in the doc.
Dude, yes, dude. I did like a deep dive on advanced analytics on him, bro, and I was like, holy fucking shit, dude. This guy's a baller. If you want to share the screen, you can.
Um,
Lots of green. Lots
lots of
of
green.
green. I don't have it. I don't have our notes pulled up. I have them on my phone.
I got
Um, so he's actually my main man on this. In this tie, I think he's the one that could change everything. Like, look at all, dude. Look at that. This man is no seriously. It's insane how consistent he's been. Look how many shot creating actions he's getting per 90, bro.
Yeah, that's why.
8.5.
That is crazy.
What? Like, what? Dude, he's attempting 80 passes. That's crazy, dude. And
It
this
is,
is a guy, progressive passes, 12 per game. What? That's
he's
insane, bro. Um,
he's
and
killing.
and he's really not bad on the defensive side either. Like he's very above average, as you can see from the advanced metrics. Um, but he's going to be the X factor for this one. Keep your eye on him. He probably should be snapped up by the big club here pretty soon.
Yeah, no, I didn't really know about him to be honest. 25 years old. Um, yeah, baller. He could easily,
Apparently, who would have known?
yeah, he could easily boss the midfield against Dortmund.
Well, you know where I'm thinking he might end up, which would be a good level for him.
Where?
Brighton.
Brighton. Yeah, I could see
Couldn't you
it.
see him just being a fucking baller there? Like God.
Absolutely. Um, maybe Ten Hag knows about him from his Eredivisie days. He was,
Yeah, if we want to see him get ruined, that'd be cool.
yeah. Um, but yeah, no, Dortmund, they have gotten better since January, adding Sancho, Matson, Fulkrug's in good form, like you mentioned.
Yes.
Um,
He looks much better now.
they haven't lost in their last 9, but 6 of those
But they
are,
haven't looked good either at the same
yeah.
time. So
Um, I think you're right to point out Hummels is a key guy for them. Their experienced leader at the back, who he's not having a
he
bad year.
but he
I,
has to play like perfect.
yeah. Um, I I still think I gotta go Dortmund. Um, but it's close, man. It's like 53-47. I It's that second leg in Germany at the Signal Iduna for me that does it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
That's what
If
does
there's a
it.
problem, that's what's gonna do it in. But you gotta be feeling pretty good for them at this point. For both teams, honestly.
Yes. Yes.
I don't have anything else to add to Dortmund, actually. I've watched a lot of Dortmund this year. I just have not been a fan. And that being said, just you're kind of been boring, worst of all, which is worst of it. Like normally at least they're entertaining, but their team is really lacking talent now.
It is.
Moving on to Porto and Arsenal. This is the last match day, I believe, of the group. And
No, there's one more after.
No, I mean it's going to be on the second Wednesday. That's what I meant by
Oh
last. I
yeah,
said, you know what I mean. Arsenal look good, man. Normally I'd be like, I know you and I talked about this a couple months ago. I believe on the pod we're like, yeah, like I'm leaning Porto right now. Like, Arsenal look pretty bad, and
yeah,
Arsenal's really shaped up at the right time. That being said, Porto are going to have to be inch perfect, millimeter perfect to knock out Arsenal, and I just don't see it happening. Taremi was a big reason they did well last year. Pepe, he's another year older, but still amazing. Diego Costa is going to have to be perfect in net for them to have a chance. But the thing is, Kev, here's the one thing: Arsenal don't have the reliable goal scorer you need, which we mentioned earlier. Wow, that usually doesn't work in the Champions League. You need someone when the shit's hitting the fan, like a Karim Benzema did on the Real Madrid run, or the Cristiano Ronaldos, or Haaland was doing in for City last year. I know he didn't score in semifinal or quarter or semifinal or final, but he was distracting the center backs and everyone. Anyone that says Haaland didn't matter to that is dumb. There's a reason they didn't win it. There's a reason that they finally won the UCL with the guy that should have won the ball in the Oro. But yeah, to the Porto talk, that's what I have. Anything you want to add to Porto?
they have the ability to do what they need to do, if that makes sense. They have the ability to low block and counter. They have some exciting attackers, Evan Nilsson and Conceição. Tried to do a Portuguese accent, didn't quite work out.
That language is incredibly difficult to understand.
Yes, it is. They're third right now, which I think is important to contextualize. They're 6 points off top. They play top of the league, Benfica, in between the Arsenal games. Um, I just like seeing what the team, can they take it easy in the games where they're not playing in the UCL. Porto do have, if they want to go for Liga NOS, they're gonna have to play a strong team against Benfica. Um, but no, I guess that's about it for them. I think I just wouldn't be surprised. What do they go to the Drago first? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they do. That could work out. Couldn't work out. Porto are good at playing in
it can
hostile
make it
environments,
closer. It
though.
could definitely make it closer.
Yeah,
I actually think Porto play better in brutal environments. I think they kind of feed off of it.
yeah.
So Arsenal should try to be a very calm stadium during that time. But just this Arsenal team, Martinelli looks good right now. Maybe he's that guy that they can rely on. Kai Havertz looked really good at the 9 the other day. That double pivot of Rice and Jorginho looks really good. Um, it gives them the proper solidity they feel like they need, and Rice can kind of do more. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. I think this one's pretty straightforward. Kev, do you have a percentage on this one?
I do think it's closer than people think. Not that I know what all people are thinking, but
No, but people are definitely leaning Arsenal, and they think it's not even going to be close.
yeah. Um, I wouldn't put it anywhere close to 70-30 if I'm gonna keep it real. I would go like 65-35. I guess I just did put it somewhere close to 70-30, but no, it's closer than people think. The Porto can scrape not a point, but they can scrape a win at home, a 1-0, maybe even a 2-0.
I was going to say if they can win by two, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Like if they win by two at home, I don't see Arsenal coming back. And like, because the thing is who's going to be the consistent goal scorer for Arsenal? What's going to happen is Arsenal's going to have to be really solid in defense to get through this tie.
Yeah. Which it's been
Sometimes are,
it's been hot and cold for them all year.
yeah.
Um like sure they look good now, but this is also one of the later ties. What their first ties in like 2 weeks. So, a lot could change even then. Um Maybe I'd go 60-40 even.
I was going to say 60-40 for me.
Yeah.
Just because I don't really trust Arsenal's goal scoring.
Yeah.
And are
I'm
you
with
good
you.
on this one? Just moving on to the last tie.
Yeah.
Napoli, Barcelona. So, um, do you have any thoughts on this one, or do you think it's pretty straightforward here? I think it's pretty close, to be honest.
It definitely is close. Napoli are in seventh, but kind of like we talked about earlier with Lazio, Serie A is congested right now. They're only
And they're
four.
getting Osimhen back soon.
Right, exactly. There's lots of extracurriculars here. Barcelona's injuries are shocking. They have so many guys out. If I could read them off: Balde, Gavi, Ferran Torres, Gundogan, Felix, Ter Stegen, uh, Marco Alonso, Rafinha, Sergio Roberto. Some of these guys might come back, but some of them will not come back. Um, is Vitor Roque emerging right now? That's something to think about. Um, I don't know. I was kind of all over the place right there, but that's sort of what this one feels like. It's another one I'm not entirely sure what to expect. Barcelona will dominate possession if I had to guess.
Or try to.
Yeah.
Um, no, and Napoli under Mazzarri has been a super defensive side. And Barca's going to need a very good Robert Lewandowski to put this one to bed. Or a very good Victor Roque, who has been actually El Tigre. I'm going to say that every single time I say his name for the rest of his life. Um, they've been. I think Barca's looked really good lately, and so have Napoli. So actually, both teams are coming into pretty good form right now. And I think on paper, uh, Barca's way better. Even with the injuries, the problem is like Xavi's been doing this thing where he trusts like 5-year-olds to play,
yeah.
and like in a UCL match, you don't want to trust a 5-year-old to play. Um, that being said, I just think that it's close. It's not actually. I think it's further apart than people think. I actually think Barcelona get it done. I,
Fair
I
enough.
think I think they're gonna put on. I think they're gonna try their best to win it. And dude, Napoli's just like the Osimhen and Carvajal drama, and just
Well, it's not surprising.
everything going on there is just it's a circus, bro.
Yeah, it's not surprising that Eastern Europeans not getting along with an African player, and I'll leave it at that. But
Is
um,
Georgia in Eastern Europe? Is that what that's considered?
they're probably
I
more.
don't even know where it is, bro. Like I just know it's a country, and my friend
Probably,
lives there, and that's all I know.
they're probably more Eurasian. But I would
I can see that.
they I would, they used to be a part of the USSR, so that's why I call them.
Oh Jesus, that's freaking crazy.
Yeah, they're in the depths of the world, dude. It is. They're close to like Turkmenistan and shit like that.
Oh, okay, so they're almost in Asia.
Yeah. Um, it's just in a weird part of the world. Lost my train of thought. At the top of the podcast, I would have had Barca as more of a favorite than Napoli, but that's sort of just like a 10,000 foot view. Within the context of this tie, it is closer, and I could see Napoli winning. I'm gonna use my 50-50 uh, token for this tie. I'm really not sure where I stand. In the doc, I say Napoli, but you asked me at the beginning of the pod, and I said Barca. So I really don't know.
Also, I think if Barca gets through, they have a better chance of getting a deeper run. The
Yeah,
one thing here, the one big thing here is that the Osimhen thing. If Osimhen scores a lot, you kind of expect them to be fine. Like if Osimhen pots 4 over 2 legs or 3 over 2 legs, you're probably feeling pretty comfortable.
for sure.
Unfortunately, that's how it's probably going to go. Whoever's more clinical is who's going to win. I just think that right now, Osimhen being gone at AFCON is going to hurt them. He's pretty much played every 3 days, every minute for Nigeria on a run to the final. So pretty much for a month, he's played every 3 days. He's not going to be ready to play against Barcelona in leg one. And then leg two is at the Camp Nou, which is much. Oh no, it's not. Sorry, it's at the Montjuic, which is also a problem. The fact they're playing at the Montjuic, they don't look comfortable at home. It's essentially they're playing an away match, so they're essentially playing two away matches, and that would be the reason that Napoli goes through. If it was at the new camp, it'd be Barca easily.
Fair enough. I see that. I see it.
Do you have any key players for either side that you think?
Um, I wish I could not go obvious for Napoli, but it's Osimhen in that leg two, and Kvaratskhelia specifically in leg one.
And then
Um,
Di Lorenzo attacking down the right side as well.
yeah, that would
Who's
be
been one of the better right backs in the world this year.
yeah. Um, I wish that I could say Vitor Roque for Barcelona. I would love to see like him really
Oh, dude, me
break out.
too. I would love to see him like they win 3-2 on aggregate and he gets the third. Like that
Yeah,
would be so awesome, bro.
it would be really cool. But Pedri's crucial in the midfield with no Gavi. Um,
Ronald Araujo has to be pretty much perfect. Like, and he's been very bad this year. He's
yeah,
gonna have to be perfect for
but
them to advance.
and, they're dealing with no Balde, which is someone that really helps you down the left. Um, I don't know. It'll be fascinating, this one. I'm sticking with 50-50. This is probably the second juiciest tie in the whole round of 16.
Probably, I'd probably agree with that one.
And
I'm
then,
looking through them right now. It definitely is. I don't even think it's close. Oh well, I mean, PSG Real Sociedad is juicier than it looks.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I tend to agree. Probably, I'm leaning Barca, maybe like 55, 45, 51, 49. But I think Barca get it done. I believe Barca get it done.
yeah.
Um,
I don't have any
no,
problems with
go.
that. I don't have any problems with that take. Is all I was gonna say.
All right, so let's just do some quick fire here. UCL redraws, right?
Yes,
Who do you think's going to get the toughest draw in the next round? Are we going to see a City Madrid? Are we going to see a Bayern City, Bayern Madrid,
I would hope not.
Inter, anyone?
I would really hope not. It's probably Madrid that's gonna get a tough draw. Um,
It always is.
yeah. Uh,
Bayern got City last year in the quarters, so
I don't want to see that, man. I don't. I want to see City, Bayern, and Madrid all make the semis, and then
to
someone.
me the perfect semis would be like Inter slash Atletico versus City, and then a Madrid versus Bayern semifinal. To me, that's perfect. Those are the best teams. Actually, I would like to see. Um, uh, is there a draw you'd like to see in the next round?
Hmm,
Because I have one I really want to see,
that's a
and
good.
it's just actually there's two I really want to see.
I mean, I would love to see Madrid, Barca, but
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I That's not even where my head went, but yeah, I
yeah.
would love to embarrass them in the UCL.
Besides those, uh, I think City Arsenal over two legs would be cool. Um, I would like to see Arsenal take on like a big
I
hitter.
want to see Arsenal take on a big team. Yeah, me
Yeah,
too. Or like an Arsenal Barca, that'd be cool. Arsenal Bayern. Like let's see how actually good they are. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like let's see if it's for real.
yeah,
Because if they knock out a big team, like I will sit here and say this team is for real. If they don't, it's just the same old same. Because okay, yeah, you beat Liverpool. That was awesome. But it was at home, like, and it was a big game and everything, and it was probably the best game we've seen under Arteta. But let's see it for real. Um, for me, there's one. I want to see PSG Real Madrid. If PSG get through. Um, just because of the Mbappe drama, it will just be really interesting, intriguing. To see how that goes. Um, and I just love putting dogs in their place. Uh, and then also, I'd love to see. I really want to see a Bayern Arsenal. I think. And see how Arteta does against Tuchel. And let's see, Tuchel's really good at his in-game tactical tweaks against good teams. And I'd love to see the tactical battle between him and Arteta
yeah.
with top squads, top class squads.
I would
And
love.
it would be love to see. You would love to see Harry Kane knock out Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean. Any other juicy ties that you would love to see?
Um, Not off the top of my head. I think we kind of covered the bases. It would be cool to see Porto make a run, but
Yeah. Or Sociedad finally get over
yeah.
that hump in the round of 16. That'd be nice. Um, there is going to be someone to get. I see you have dark horse here, Inter. Do you really think Inter's a dark horse
I mean, between you and I, no, but I think
to the commoner?
yeah, to the commoner, if like you walked up to them and said, "Hey, Inter's got a real shot at this thing," they'd probably
They
laugh at
do. Yeah,
you. Yeah.
but they really have a good shot at this thing.
Yes.
But so do Atletico, and I do you think Atletico is also a dark horse then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Within this,
I think those are the top 4/5. Um, and I think Arsenal actually have a good chance as well. Who do you think is going to be the player of the tournament? Like of the round of 16, like the knockout phases.
I think it's gonna be Musiala just because Bayern are my favorite. I'm kind of getting blinded by my Spurs bias and wanting Kane to go all the way. But if Bayern do it, it'll be Musiala. It'll be him.
Imagine Kane loses the league but wins the Champions League. Like that's crazy.
It would be nuts.
Bayern lose their first league in like 12 years, but hey, Kane, they won the Champions League, so who gives a fuck? My best player of the knockouts, it has to come from the team that you think's gonna win. Um, I'm gonna go with Rudiger. I just, I have Real Madrid as favorites, and I think Rudiger's just been a dog this year. So, um, top goal scorer, I'm gonna guess you say Kane.
Yeah.
Are we just talking about the knockouts, or are we talking about the competition?
When I wrote that down, I was taking into account the current standings.
Do you know what the current standings are off the top of your head?
I'm pretty sure Mbappe's at the top right now.
Yeah, well, I don't expect that to stay. Damn it, it always just gives me Cristiano Ronaldo. Go.
um,
It's Morata.
it's Murata right now.
That's crazy.
Murata then Griezmann, huh?
Morata, Griezmann, Hoyland, Erling Haaland, all with five. Um, oh
And then
my
there's
god, dude! Imagine Morata's the best player in the Champions League. Um, Kev, if you could see one team win the Champions League this year,
like
not Bayern, like you would just love it for the story, who would it be?
hmm, for the story. It would be hilarious if Barcelona won it. It would be hilarious.
That would be. They'd have to keep Xavi. That's the only way he keeps his job.
But that's what I'm saying. Like he said, even if we win the UCL, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
So
they'd have to beg him to come, and Laporta would fucking kill himself because he really doesn't want him there.
maybe that's why he said it. Maybe that's why he's
Oh, he's been at fucking wit's end with him.
yeah.
Any other UCL questions that you think are juicy that we can talk about?
I just like we could talk about the final and how we've had some bad finals over the last few years. Like
They've all been 1-0 since 2020, every single one, which is really shitty.
yeah, and
The Madrid final was at least really entertaining.
it was.
Um, the Bayern one sucked with PSG. That was so boring. The Spurs one sucked. That thing was so boring. Was that 2020?
No, it couldn't
That
have
was
been.
2019, right? That's 2018-19. That thing was so boring, bro.
That was bad because there was a penalty in like the second minute.
And then it was just dull.
Yeah,
So I guess we've had 1-0 since then. The
Spurs.
Chelsea City one wasn't great either.
The Ch-
I even thought the City
terrible.
one last year was bad.
It was.
Um,
It was
it
all
was
right.
kind of Inter. Well, Inter was just kind of dominating it. It just wasn't getting anything out of it.
Lukaku had a lot of misses.
Yeah, unfortunately for him. Do
I
you
just I,
think? Sorry, go.
no, I would just like to somehow manufacture a more entertaining final. I know that
Yeah,
I don't
But the
know.
thing is teams want to be super defensive now in the final, which is why they get that way. Last question: if there was actually a Cinderella story, who do you think it comes from? This means like probably anyone outside your top six.
Yeah. Probably Real Sociedad.
That's a great shout, actually, because you know they can get past PSG.
Yes. And then
And
it's
then if they
open
get
season.
and then if they get a favorable draw, like a PSV, you expect them to be favorites against a PSV, and then they're in the semifinals.
Right, and then it's only 3 more games. I guess you could Real Sociedad or PSG. It doesn't feel right saying PSG,
It
but
doesn't because they've been there a lot.
yeah,
I was also wanting to throw Porto into the ring, because like we said, they could knock out an Arsenal.
yeah, they can knock out anyone. We've seen it from last year. I forget off the top of my head, but
They knocked out someone that they probably shouldn't have. Might have been Leipzig.
I think it was even crazier than that.
You can look it up real quick.
I don't know how I'm going to find this.
I would just type in last year's Champions League and look at a bracket.
Oh no, it was wrong. I'm wrong. It must have been the year before
I forget.
because they got
Oh,
knocked out by Inter last year.
yeah, but that was a good tie.
What? I'm way off.
No, it was last year. They beat someone in the first round that they should have beat. Shouldn't have beat, I think.
They
Um,
lost to Inter in the round of 16 though.
oh, never mind then. No, they definitely went on a run recently. I don't remember when, but
Maybe it's Benfica I'm thinking of from last year.
no, it definitely wasn't. It was definitely them because I remember Taremi going off.
Time moves by too fast, guys.
I know. Either way, there's someone that can make some noise.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the 21-22 just because out of curiosity. Dude, the round of 16 was Benfica, Ajax, Inter Milan, Liverpool, Villarreal, Juventus, Salzburg, Bayern, Sporting, Man City, Atletico, Manchester United, Chelsea, Lille, PSG, Real Madrid. That's pretty incredible.
That's an awesome round of 16. This one feels a bit like I don't know. Cuz
It
some of
doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like the best 16 are there. First off,
right, exactly. Liverpool and Leverkusen aren't here. Um
yeah, that one hurts.
obviously at the top. Um and some other teams.
You wouldn't want to see Girona there though. They wouldn't be if they were in Champions League. They wouldn't be at the top of La Liga. But
Yeah.
Leverkusen actually have the proper depth to compete. Liverpool have the proper depth to compete. Um,
There's no Juve, no Milan. Um
yeah, AC Milan not being there kind of stings a little bit. Um, Probably would have rather them been there than Dortmund.
for sure. I think Milan would probably smack BSV.
I think so too, actually. And Milan's getting healthy now. Kev, anything else?
No, sir.
I got a flight in the morning, so
Oh boy. Good luck.
yep, 6 a.m. up and at 'em. Well, thank you all for listening. This is our UCL preview, and we'll be back. I might not be there. I might be there. I'm not really sure. We haven't really gotten the logistics down yet for this upcoming pod, but I might not be there, so it might be a little bit of a different episode that comes at you. Maybe just a quick review of the weekend of the big games, and then maybe talking about some extra points with a friend of the pod, potentially. Kev, thank you. Guys, go follow us on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you do your thing, any social medias. And, if you like football, you got friends that like football, share with some friends.
Peace.
Kev, that was good.